The Gilded Cage. The diamond on Avery Harrington's finger caught the light as she raised her champagne flute, its brilliance momentarily blinding the photographer. Blake's hand rested possessively on the small of her back, his smile practicing perfection for yet another society magazine. The tech world's golden couple, the journalist gushed. How does it feel being engaged to Silicon Valley's most eligible bachelor? Avery's smile never faltered. Like winning the lottery every day, she replied, the answer rehearsed and hollow. Later, as she waited for Blake to return from his emergency meeting, Avery stood before the windows of their penthouse. 29 floors above the city, she watched the lights below. Her reflection stared back, designer dress, immaculate makeup, perfect posture. The Harrington heiress, Blake Thorne's fiancé, labels that defined her existence. The first thread unraveled 3 weeks later. Blake had left his watch on the bathroom counter, unusual for a man whose meticulousness bordered on compulsion. When Avery picked it up, she noticed a small golden key taped underneath. The key opened the bottom drawer of his office desk. Inside lay a burner phone, its black casing inconspicuous and damning. With trembling fingers, Avery powered it on. The messages were explicit, with photos that turned her stomach. Not just one woman, several. Can't wait to feel you tonight. Timestamp 11:42 a.m. My fiancé has a charity gala. I'll be at your place by 9. Blake's response, sent while Avery had been helping him choose a tie. At the gala that evening, she wore red, a departure from her usual pastels. You look different tonight, Blake remarked, eyes narrowing. Different how? Avery asked, adjusting his bow tie, just a fraction too tight. Dangerous, he replied with a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. 3 days of surveillance revealed a pattern. On the 4th night, Avery waited in his office, evidence spread on his desk, screenshots, credit card statements, hotel receipts. When Blake walked in at 1:23 a.m., his eyes widened with shock before hardening into something cold. What is this, Avery? His voice remained eerily calm. The truth, she replied simply. The conversation that followed was civilized at first. When manipulation failed, he switched to gaslighting. When Avery remained unmoved, his facade cracked. Do you have any idea who I am? He hissed. Who's gonna believe you over me? Your family practically sold you to me for the business connections. I don't need anyone to believe me. I just need to leave you. The ring hit his chest and fell with a metallic ping that triggered something primal in him. His hand moved so fast, she barely registered the impact until she tasted blood. You're not going anywhere, Blake said, advancing as Avery's back hit the wall. Not with what you know. The second blow sent darkness crashing down. She woke to rain against unfamiliar windows. Pain throbbed behind her eyes. The room spun. Simple furnishings, floral wallpaper, nothing recognizable. A woman appeared, middle-aged with kind eyes. You're awake, thank goodness. I'm Martha. Your husband's been worried sick. Husband? The word felt wrong. Blake? He brought you here 2 days ago. Said you'd had an accident. Dr. Henley came by. Concussion and temporary memory loss, he said. I don't remember. Don't worry, Emma. Blake said it might take time. Small town like Pinewood is perfect for recovery. Emma? The name felt hollow. Wrong. When Blake appeared hours later, his concern seemed genuine to Martha, but felt like a performance. His touch made her skin crawl, though she couldn't explain why. The doctor says your memory might come back in pieces, Blake explained smoothly. We'll stay here until you're better. He squeezed her hand, fingers pressing just hard enough to convey the warning. Just us. After he left, she stood before the bathroom mirror. Bruises bloomed along her cheekbone and jaw. The name Emma echoed in her mind, false and empty. Something else lingered, the visceral certainty that the man calling himself her husband was dangerous. Pinewood revealed itself slowly, a town too small for secrets, yet somehow perfect for hiding. Blake came and went, business in the city. In his absence, Emma ventured beyond the cottage, drawn to the small bookstore on Main Street. That's where she met Mason Collins, his weathered hands carefully rebinding a vintage copy of Jane Eyre. No wedding ring, eyes that crinkled when he smiled, a quietness that felt like safety. "First edition?" she asked, surprising herself with knowledge that surfaced unbidden. Mason looked up, truly seeing her despite the fading bruises. "Good eye. Most people wouldn't notice." "I think I used to love books," she confessed. Something shifted in his expression, not pity, but recognition. She left with a journal with empty pages instead of the bland romance novel Blake had suggested might jog her memory. The journal became her sanctuary. In it, she recorded fragments, sensations, dreams, inexplicable knowledge about art and literature that didn't align with Emma's supposed background as a kindergarten teacher. "You remind me of her," Mason said one rainy afternoon, nodding toward Jane Eyre. "Plain and quiet," she joked. "Resilient," he corrected, with fire just beneath the surface. The headaches intensified whenever memory threatened to break through. Images flashed, a high-rise apartment, a red dress, a diamond that felt like a shackle, a name whispered in dreams. Avery. Blake returned for a long weekend, his patience visibly wearing thin. "Maybe we should see a specialist," Martha suggested over dinner. "No," Blake snapped, then softened with practiced charm. "Emma and I have always valued our privacy." That night, he slipped into her bed despite the separate rooms she'd insisted upon. His hands moved with entitled familiarity over her body. "Stop," she whispered, revulsion rising. Blake's eyes darkened. "You're my wife. I don't remember loving you," she said, voice stronger than she felt. His fingers dug into her wrists. "Then I'll remind you." Something primitive surged within her. Her knee connected with his groin, sending him sprawling to the floor. "Don't touch me again," she said, trembling but resolute. She locked the door, pressing her back against it as fragments coalesced. A key beneath a watch, messages on a phone, evidence on a desk, blood in her mouth. "Avery. My name is Avery." Blake left the next morning without a word. 3 days later, her memory returned in a torrent during a thunderstorm, triggered by the scent of Mason's bookshop when he sheltered her from rain. Every detail, every lie, every betrayal crashed over her. She collapsed into Mason's arms, sobbing as her dual existence aligned into horrifying clarity. "My name is Avery Harrington," she whispered, "and my fiancé tried to erase me." Mason listened without judgment as she recounted everything: her family's wealth, Blake's infidelity, the confrontation, the violence. "He'll be back," she said, fear and determination warring within. "He thinks I'm trapped." "You're not alone anymore," Mason promised. When Blake returned, he found Emma sitting calmly at the kitchen table, her posture straight, eyes clear. "Your amnesia act is getting old," he said, pouring himself a whiskey. "Pack your things. We're leaving tomorrow." "Hello, Blake," Avery replied, her true voice emerging, cultured, confident. "Or should I use your full name?" "Blake Edward Thorne, CEO of Thorne Technologies, currently under federal investigation for securities fraud." The glass froze halfway to his lips. "Imagine the headlines," she continued, sliding her phone across the table. On screen was a drafted email to the Wall Street Journal with photo attachments and detailed accounts of his crimes: abduction, assault, identity theft, Your investors won't appreciate the scandal. Blake lunged for the phone. Avery was faster. It's already backed up, she said calmly, and set to send automatically if I don't enter a code every 12 hours. His handsome face contorted with rage. No one will believe you. Your own family thinks you're having a breakdown at a wellness retreat. My idea, by the way. I don't need them to believe me. The evidence speaks for itself. Fear flickered across Blake's features. What do you want? You're going to disappear from my life. Sign over your shares in the merger with Harrington Industries, then go quietly to Switzerland and stay there. You can't just erase me, he snarled. Avery's smile was cold. Watch me. 6 months later, Avery stood beside Mason on the porch of her cottage. Pinewood's autumn foliage painted the mountains in fiery hues of transformation. The scandal had rocked high society. Blake Thorne's abrupt resignation and overseas move spawned countless rumors. But the full truth remained known only to Avery and those she trusted. You look peaceful, Mason observed, his hand finding hers. I am, she replied. This Avery kept her natural hair color, wore clothes for comfort rather than status, and spoke her mind without rehearsing acceptable responses. She divided her time between running the foundation she'd established for domestic violence survivors and helping Mason expand his bookstore into a safe resource center. Her old circle had largely scattered, uncomfortable with a woman who had stepped outside their gilded constraints. But here, in this small town where she'd been brought to disappear, Avery Harrington had found something her previous life never offered: freedom. The irony wasn't lost on her. Blake had engineered the perfect prison, never imagining it would become the key to her liberation. What are you thinking about? Mason asked. Avery turned from the view to meet his gaze. How sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what you never had. Behind them, inside the cottage that had witnessed her rebirth, sat a manuscript. Her story transformed to protect the innocent while exposing predators hiding behind power and privilege. Its title page read, The Gilded Cage by Avery Harrington.
If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications.